This is Brian H. Waters signing in. I'm going to give my week 17. Oh, shoot. Week 13, I'm ahead of schedules. I try to get everything together. Week 13 predictions. But before I get started, I want to welcome everybody in. Thank you for joining me here. One thing I want to invite you to do, if you haven't done so, if you're not watching on Haps, perhaps you're watching on Facebook, which is cool, but download the Haps app for free. You can do it absolutely free, and you can make sure your comments are heard. Let me push, mute that. Yeah, you can make sure your comments are heard. You know, a lot of times may not get all the comments in, and it's okay. But Haps is the place you want to be. It's a free app. It's great. And guess what? If you want your own show, I can hook that up for you. I can maybe, see what we could do. No, I'm not the owner, but I talk to the CEOs on a regular. That's not a gimmick. That's a shoot, as we say in the wrestling world. But week 13, and we just finally closed week 12. You may have seen yesterday I was here live with Kyle Andrews. We talked about the Baltimore Ravens coming up just short against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But now that's old news. This is new news. It's time to get into week 13. And guess what? I'm going to start right there, 1 o'clock. We're going to start with another rivalry, the biggest rivalry of the South, and that is the New Orleans Saints coming in at 9-2, going right down to Hotlanta, Georgia. Do y'all still call it that? But yeah, the Saints will take on the hated Falcons. A lot of people up here really don't understand how big that rivalry is, folks. I know me, I've learned because I have a lot of good friends from New Orleans, and they've said, look, Ravens and Steelers is one thing, but guess what? We hate the Saints we hate the Falcons as much as y'all hate the Steelers. But this last year around this time, give or take, November, we saw a red hot Saints team going against the Falcons that was struggling then too, and it was the Falcons pulling off the upset. I think it's going to happen again this week. I'm picking the Falcons to win. It's a rivalry game. We saw that with Kansas City, and we saw that with the Las Vegas Raiders. These division games are always tight, and that's what you saw last night with the Ravens and the Steelers. So, but I do think the Falcons get it done. They're holding on to very, very slim hopes for a playoff spot. They're 4-7. Anything can happen in the NFL. Anything can happen. They could win out. That would put them at 9-7, and they would have an opportunity to make the playoffs. But yeah, I'm picking an upset. Saints, they're not 100%, so we'll see. Let's move on. Bears and Lions. This is one of those matchups. Lions coming off just firing their coach, Matt Patricia. Finally, he's gone. So maybe they looking to get some momentum, but they have dropped 5 straight against the Lions have dropped 5 straight against the Bears. So, and it's in Soldier Field. I'm picking the Bears to win this. They'll even their record up at 6-6. Thank you guys for joining me. I see people hopping in. Thank you for joining me. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button. And on Haps, download the app. If you want to support me, you can go ahead and sponsor the show. We got an option. If you want to, you like the show, you say, hey, let me toss you a couple of dollars. They got little coin options, so there's an opportunity. So, and I welcome all that. And I thank you for watching. Colts and Texans. The Texans, they got they will, they're home. They're going 4-7. This is obviously a disappointing season for them. But they're taking on the Colts. The Colts coming off a disappointing loss against the Tennessee Titans. So they need this win right here if they want to have any shot at making the playoffs. So I think that's what they'll get done. I think the Texans will be one of these teams. We'll see them bounce back next year. But this year's, it's kind of like finding themselves. I think it's a wrap. Moving on, we see the Bengals going the 2-8-1 Bengals going against the Dolphins. We do know Joe Burrow is out. This would have been a great matchup to see the 2 rookie quarterbacks with Joe Burrow and Tua, but I think the Dolphins get it done, and it'd probably be a huge win, to be honest with you. They are home. They've allow, a lot of people ain't talking about this, allow only 18.6 points a game. I think they could actually pull a shutout on this one. I know that's maybe considered disrespectful when we talk in the National Football League, but I think they could pull a shutout. So we shall see. Let's move on. Who we got next? We have the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in at 1-10, going against the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings start off 1-5, but they won 4 out of their last 5. This is one of those games they could get hot and make it, make a stride. Maybe they could get in the playoffs. They're in a tough division, and they traded away a lot of members of their team and then found out how to win. So with that being said, though, I think the Vikings win this. Jaguars, they shown some heart. Like when they played the Steelers, they showed that they could hang with them for 2.5 quarters, but then the Steelers would eventually pull away. The only team worse than the Jaguars is the New York Jets, and they will take on the Las Vegas Raiders. So Joe Flacco and the Jets, they've allowed the most passing, third most passing yards per game at 284 yards per game. I look for Derek Carr to have a big one. The only thing that may give the Jets the advantage is that they're home, but I do think this team is poised to be 0-16, folks. I know a lot of Jets fans. I know a lot of good people who are Jets fans, but unfortunately, I just don't see it happening. I see this being a bad game for them, unfortunately. And I think this is, kind of one of those games that'll help the Raiders really gain their confidence. If they put them away, that'll let them, if I'm a Raiders fan, I want them to go out there and put them away so I know that my team isn't playing down to the competition. And then, we got the game of the week, in my opinion. The game of the week as the let's push that to the top right there. Yeah, there we go. As the Cleveland Browns taking on the Tennessee Titans. Did you think you would call this a game of the week? I don't think so. But Tennessee will take on Tennessee takes on the Browns. This game, both teams 8-3, playoff seeding. You almost want to guarantee that both of these teams will be in the playoffs. I think this Browns team have lower expectations because of what happened last year. Last year, people had them actually going to the Super Bowl when they got OBJ. There's the Browns, you had people actually picking them. And now people, they kind of slept on them, and now they're playing good football. They got to see Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry averages 114.3 yards per game. So I like the Browns to surprise people. I think the Browns are going to win this. I know they're going on the road, not necessarily saying that's who I want to win as being a Ravens fan, but at this point, the Ravens, they're going to have to face the Browns. And with the Ravens having 5 losses, the Browns having 3. If the Browns lose this game, then the Ravens would have an opportunity to surpass them, because by the time, let's say by the time they meet, they would have a tied record, and the Ravens would own the tiebreaker, because a win over the Browns would mean a sweep. So, but with that being said, I do think Browns win this one regardless. I just think they're going to find a way to neutralize Derrick Henry. And they're also going to, go out there and try to prove to people that, they are for real. And it makes you wonder, like, well, what about Odell Beckham Jr.? He's no longer, he's on the sideline. Was he the reason? I've said that they look to be better without him, because you don't have to try to give him the ball. But with that also being said, I just maybe think if the right plays aren't being called for him, and that's one thing that could be it. The right plays are not being called for Odell Beckham Jr. So let's move on. We have the Rams and the Cardinals. This is a 4:00 game. It should be a great one, honestly. This is the division matchup. Sean McVay, since he's been coached in 2017, is 6-0 against the Cardinals. But I like them to win this one. I think this is a different Cardinals team. They're still finding their way, but I think they got some promise to them, and they have an opportunity to make some noise down this stretch. And if they're going to do it, they home. They're going to have to take advantage of. They're going to have to take care of the home field advantage. See my man K. Patrick coming in. He yelling Steelers Nation. I guess he saw that I am picking Washington to win. And I'll jump right into that right now. I'm gonna jump over the rundown. And yes, I put it out there as I see somebody saying, who's this? Bugsy Bug on Twitter jumping in and saying, I am tripping. Says Washington will not win. I have to say, folks, this is the thing. I've watched this team closely I'm not gonna say all season, most of the season. I've been at 3 or 4 home games. Yeah, I know I picked the Ravens too, Kevin. But what happened was, the fact is, we want to talk truth. The truth is that the Steelers didn't do what they were supposed to do. They should have put that team away. The Ravens had them. They was very close. We ain't gonna talk about the end of the half where you can say John Harbaugh mismanaged the clock, but also, the referees, I'm not going to get fined. I could say it. The referees have been a little shady in both of those Ravens-Steelers games. And the reason why I'm picking Washington, and I said this 2 weeks ago, I watched this team. Their front four is serious. When you look at Sweat, and most importantly, Chase Young, you still got Ryan Kerrigan over there. This team can get to Big Ben. They are amongst the top front four in the league. They can get to Big Ben. Chase Young is due for that game that's going to spotlight him on national TV, international media. Yes, the local media knows who he is, but he is due for a big game. And I think he gets it here, And like I said, shout out to my man Dev Ashby. Make sure you check out the Play-by-Play Analysis podcast. He talks about it all the time. He talks about it all the time. So, Blue Hill jumps in the comments, said, I like the Cardinals, super fun team. Exactly. Browns do have a tough schedule. Last year they was like that team that was somewhat good, somewhat not. And then he also says Derrick Henry is on fire. Okay, we could definitely talk wrestling. We could talk about that later. But yeah, I'm picking the upset. Pittsburgh. I saw it on Twitter trending, worst 11-0 team ever. And when you look at it, yes, I mean, you can look at a lot of the stuff. Yeah, I'll give them credit. They are winning games that they should win. If you're going to do that, you have to do that. You have to win the games that you should win. They found ways to win, but let's not act like this team is invincible. They haven't seen Kansas City yet. With that being said, I do think they will see them in the AFC Championship, but I think they will, come down to earth. And I was talking to my man DeRod the other day, and we had a great conversation about, if you look back in the NFL, Monday 12-0, what you gonna say? Good game. They should have won. If that's if they do it, they do it. But this is just a prediction. Obviously, I don't have the magic wand, but I was saying, you look back at the Saints that won the Super Bowl. They started 13-0, dropped the last 3, got hit in the mouth, boom, they went in the playoffs rolling, won the Super Bowl. The Ravens lost the last 4 out of 5, boom, win the Super Bowl. But then you look at the Steelers from 2004, 15-1, and what happens? They go to the AFC Championship game and fall to the Patriots. You look at Cam Newton's 2015 Carolina Panthers, 15-1. What happens? Boom, disappointing in the Super Bowl. So, that's the thing. We shall see. Should the Steelers drop one? I know their quarterback says that they're not worried about going undefeated. They worry about winning the Super Bowl. But I just don't think this is their year. I look at this team and I think they've had better football teams than they had before. And with that being said, I just don't see them stopping. There's a lot. Their defense is very good. I give you that. As Blue Hill jumps out in the chat, it says, I give you that. The defense is very good. However, the offense, there is flaws. And you will see when that front four gets to Ben Roethlisberger and disrupt them, that allows Washington to get turnovers. That's what they've been doing. Washington's weakness, in my opinion, is their linebacker core. Their defensive backs aren't that bad, but Washington's offense, that's going to be an issue. If Alex Smith can limit his mistakes, it opens up the line it opens up opportunities for Gibson and opens up opportunity for Terry McLaurin. A lot of people don't pay attention to McLaurin. He is one of the best receivers this year. So I understand defense winning games, and I'm looking for Washington's defense to make a statement. So that is my bold prediction of the week. We shall see. I mean, obviously, I was wrong last week. I had the Ravens winning, but let's move on. The Eagles, Seahawks and Giants, 8-3. I think the Giants are 4-7, but I ain't gonna say they lucked up and won some games, but they're still young. With that being said, I think Seattle has won 4 straight games against them, and they will win this one by a healthy margin. Plus, they're home. It's gonna be tough for New York to travel. Eagles take on the Packers. The Packers are 11-2 at home. Don't see them losing this game at all. This one actually might be a blowout. Patriots and Chargers. This is going to be an interesting game, but I do think the Patriots are starting to find their way. It's hard to imagine the playoffs without Bill Belichick, and therefore I think the Patriots win this because this will be a very important game moving forward. Broncos and Chiefs, 10 straight wins for the Chiefs over the Broncos. Go ahead, pencil in number 11. They really should flex this game, to be honest with you. I know they want to see Kansas City on Sunday night, but this game really should be flexed. They should replace it with the Browns and the Titans. And then we got the Bills, and so we actually have 2 Monday night games, obviously due to everything that's happening. We got the Bills and the 49ers. That should be an interesting game. Bills have lost 4 straight games on Monday night. They're going to over out west. I think they're playing in Arizona, the 49ers, that is. But I got the 49ers winning this one. I know the Bills are 8-3, but I think the 49ers will find a way to get it done. And, of course, I already said I got Washington shocking the world by beating Ben Roethlisberger and Steelers. Here's a fun fact, though. Didn't notice Roethlisberger is 4-0 against Washington, so we shall see. And then the main event, the final game, Tuesday night, down at the bank, we will see the Baltimore Ravens hosting a team that they've only lost to once, the Dallas Cowboys. I have the Ravens winning this one, getting the bounce back. John Harbaugh, folks, he refuses to let anybody knows what Lamar Jackson's status will be. But I'm not even going to try to call that. Lamar had COVID-19. So, with that being said, please wash your hands. Take this virus very seriously. It's dangerous out there. But I'm not going to sit there and say whether or not he's going to play. That's you're talking a real life situation. I don't even know if he has symptoms. If he does, who knows? It's a lot of stuff that could come with that later down the line. You talk about COVID, post-COVID syndrome. So it's just so much. So, but Blue Hill jumps in the chat, says Washington believe in Rivera. I agree. They do. He said good still defense against weak Washington offense versus Washington defense against quick steam offense. Bold statement, my friend. Look, it's the truth. Washington's defense. Don't look. If you gotta watch the games, don't look at the numbers. Their issues are a lot of times they don't put it all together. And if they can put it all together, which I think they'll be super hyped coming into this game, they'll win it. And watch how they were down 2 touchdowns against the Eagles in week 1 before, and the Eagles were depleted, but they didn't have, the confidence killed yet, and they found a way to get it done. So, you also saw like when they played the Cowboys, they obliterated them. Yeah, the Cowboys had Andy Dalton, so they wasn't with Dak, but they absolutely, and the offensive line was whack, but they ran through Zeke Elliott. Zeke couldn't get going, all the time he was steamroll over people, nothing. And then obviously they, unfortunately Joe Burrow got hurt in that game. It wasn't like a dirty hit that hurt him. It was obviously not a dirty hit, but it was a clean hit when Chase Young hit him when he caused him to fumble. But Washington's defense is underrated, and that's why I have them winning. Also, the fact is Pittsburgh is coming on slightly a short week. So in the NFL, every day matters. So that's the reason why they say you might play on Sunday or you play on Monday. Every day matters. So, but folks, appreciate y'all coming in. I appreciate the conversation and the feedback. Obviously I made a couple bold predictions, and everybody's not going to agree. But that's the fun part, when it comes to making football predictions. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. So if you haven't done so, download the Haps app. Make sure you have that on your phone. Feel free, we can jump in and talk. You can with the app, it's a lot of stuff. I see Kevin jumping in the chat. I don't say number 19's name because he's very disrespectful, especially when it came to the coronavirus. So yeah, he's just referred to as number 19. Probably, officially my most disliked player ever to put on the black and the gold. So, with that being said, I'm gonna get out of here, folks. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you subscribe. Also check out my other shows. My podcast, Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, comes on tomorrow. I got my good friend Vanessa McMains coming on. Check out the Wrestling Realm. Yesterday, recorded it. Well, it's up now with my man Brian Langford. Brian ain't lying on Twitter. If you want to give him a follow. Till the next time, folks, as the AEW World Champion used to say when he was in New Japan Pro Wrestling, goodbye and good night.